The battlefield is a wasteland, scorched and barren, remnants of destruction everywhere. Smoke rises from scattered craters, mingling with the distant glow of fires. Bodies, some human, some alien, litter the ground. Among them, barely moving, lies the alien war dog. Its massive form, part biological, part mechanical, is caked in mud and blood. One of its legs, once a powerful, cybernetic limb, twitches but can no longer support its weight. The dog is panting heavily, each breath labored, its sides heaving with effort. Its body, scarred from countless battles, now looks vulnerable for the first time. The war dog's once bright eyes, now dimmed with exhaustion, scan the horizon. It's alone. Completely abandoned. The soldiers who had commanded it, fought beside it, had retreated hours ago. They left without a backward glance. To them, it was nothing more than a tool, a weapon to be used and discarded once broken. As the dog tries to rise, a sharp, metallic whine escapes its injured leg, the pain too much to bear. It collapses back into the dirt, barely able to lift its head. A deep sense of confusion stirs in the creature's mind. It had fought fiercely, following every command, every order. Loyalty, etched into its very nature, now feels betrayed. It tries to understand why it has been left behind. What did it do wrong? Its instincts scream at it to move, to fight, to survive, but its body no longer listens. The injuries are too severe. With each attempt to rise, it feels itself slipping closer to unconsciousness. Footsteps approach in the distance, but they are not those of its former masters. They are the heavy, deliberate steps of enemy patrols. The dog's ears twitch at the sound, and it manages a low, guttural growl, warning them to stay away. But the soldiers, human and alien alike, walk past without a second glance. They see the war dog as nothing more than a casualty of war, another broken weapon among the wreckage. The war dog's growl fades, replaced by a whimper as it lowers its head to the ground, too weak to do more. Its mechanical parts, designed for combat, spark briefly, then fall silent. It is a creature made for war, but now, it lies defeated, abandoned by those it once trusted. The battlefield, once its arena, now feels like its grave. Dust swirls around its body as the patrol moves further away, leaving the dog to its fate. With a final, feeble attempt to rise, the war dog's legs give out completely, and it collapses again, this time unable to lift itself. Its eyes close, the world around it fading into darkness. Yet somewhere deep inside, a flicker of determination remains. It doesn't want to die. Not here. Not like this. But for now, all it can do is lie there, waiting, as the cold, indifferent stars shine down on the battlefield. The human patrol moves cautiously across the desolate battlefield, their armor battered and dust-covered from days of constant fighting. Their weapons are drawn, but there's a quiet determination in their movements, an unspoken code guiding their search for survivors. These soldiers aren't just scavenging for supplies, they're on a mission to save anyone left behind, even amidst the chaos. Their discipline is evident, but so too is their weariness. The war has taken its toll on them, yet their bond holds them together, pushing them forward. One of the soldiers, a younger man with sharp eyes, stops abruptly. His gaze locks onto a massive, motionless form half buried in the dirt. "Commander," he calls out softly, alerting the rest of the squad. The group gathers around, weapons still drawn, as they see the alien war dog lying before them. Its once mighty body is broken and bleeding, but its eyes, though dim, flicker with the remnants of defiance. A low growl escapes its throat, a final act of resistance. The soldiers tense. They recognize this creature. It had been an enemy on the battlefield, a living weapon used against them and their allies. Several hands twitch toward their triggers, ready to end what seems to be a threat even in its weakened state. But no one fires. The war dog is clearly at death's door, barely able to lift its head. It's dangerous, but also pitiful. For a long, tense moment, the squad stands in silence, unsure of what to do. "Leave it," one soldier mutters, his voice gruff. "It's not our problem." It's their weapon, not ours. Another voice rises in disagreement. We can't just leave it here to die like this. It's a living thing. Just because it's from the enemy doesn't mean it deserves this. The debate quickly escalates, soldiers arguing in low tones. Some believe the war dog is a tool of war, nothing more. They argue that the same mercy would never be extended to one of them if the roles were reversed. Others see the creature as a victim, just like they are. It fought because it was commanded to, not because it wanted to. The commander, a grizzled veteran with a deep scar running down the side of his face, listens quietly as his team argues. He steps forward, his eyes narrowing as he studies the war dog. For a brief moment, their gazes meet, man and beast, both worn down by war. The dog's growl weakens, but it doesn't stop watching him. There's no trust in those eyes, only fear and suspicion. The commander knows what that feels like. Slowly, he removes his helmet and crouches beside the creature. We don't leave anything or anyone to die, he says, his voice steady and filled with resolve. Not if we can help it. The soldiers fall silent, understanding the finality in his tone. The decision is made. Cautiously, they approach the war dog, expecting it to lash out. But the creature is too weak to fight, though it still bares its teeth, unwilling to let them near. The commander speaks softly, his voice calm as they begin to administer basic medical aid. They work quickly, patching up the worst of the wounds, stabilizing the creature just enough to keep it alive. Every movement is deliberate, their actions filled with care. The dog, though still defensive, starts to ease its growling as the human's touch remains gentle, their intentions becoming clearer. For the first time in its existence, the war dog is experiencing something entirely new, compassion. It doesn't understand why these humans, once its enemies, would bother saving it. They could have easily left it to die, or ended its suffering. But they didn't. As it lies there, too weak to resist further, the dog's suspicion doesn't fade, but something else begins to take root, curiosity. It watches them closely, its eyes following their every move, trying to make sense of their actions. The humans speak to one another in low voices, sharing glances that the dog can't interpret. But there's no malice, no cruelty in their behavior. As they lift its heavy body onto a makeshift stretcher, the dog realizes these creatures, so different from its previous handlers, are driven by something it doesn't yet understand. The humans aren't here to fight. They're here to save. The journey back to the human encampment is quiet, the war dog lying still on the makeshift stretcher as the soldiers carry it through the desolate terrain. The camp itself is a stark contrast to the battlefield they've just left behind. It's not much, tents set up hastily, the smell of rations cooking over a fire, but there's a sense of safety here. A sense of belonging. The humans move with purpose, their actions coordinated and familiar. Despite the ever-present threat of war, there's an air of camaraderie among them, something the war dog instinctively notices as it's laid down near the medic's tent. The group's medic, a woman with a steady, practiced demeanor, crouches beside the war dog, assessing its injuries. The dog, though too weak to resist, remains alert, its eyes flicking between the humans. Every movement around it is tracked, its body tense despite its exhaustion. The humans move carefully, speaking in low, calm voices, trying not to startle the creature. But the war dog's instincts are sharp, its mind still caught in the fear and violence of battle. It snaps at the nearest soldier when he reaches too close, its teeth clicking just short of his arm. There's no retaliation, no harsh punishment. The soldier simply steps back, giving the war dog space. The others exchange glances but say nothing, understanding that the creature is acting out of fear, not aggression. They know what it's like to be on edge, to feel threatened even in moments of supposed peace. They've been there before, too many times. The war dog doesn't trust them. Not yet. It's still waiting for the familiar cruelty, the harsh commands, the treatment it's known all its life. But that doesn't come. Instead, the humans give it room, leaving food and water nearby, not forcing their presence on it. Slowly, over the next few days, the war dog starts to eat what they offer, though its eyes remain wary, its body always coiled as if expecting an attack. The medic treats its wounds with a gentle touch, bandaging the places where its mechanical parts have fused awkwardly with flesh, cleaning the deep cuts that crisscross its body. At first, the dog growls low in its throat, warning her to keep away, but the medic is unfazed. Her hands work with quiet precision, never flinching, never causing it unnecessary pain. Over time, the war dog's growls diminish. Its muscles, once taut with fear, begin to relax, if only slightly. Nights are the hardest. The war dog stays on the edge of the camp, its body curled up away from the warmth of the fire. It watches the humans, its glowing eyes reflecting the flicker of flames. The soldiers talk softly among themselves, sharing stories and laughter, even in the midst of the war. They aren't like its previous handlers, who communicated only in barked orders, who treated it as nothing more than a tool. The war dog sees them laugh, rest, and even care for one another in a way that is completely foreign to it. One night, the war dog drags itself closer to the fire. It's a subtle move, barely noticeable at first, but one of the soldiers catches it. He doesn't say anything, but a small smile plays at the corner of his lips. The dog rests its head on its paws, still alert, but no longer on the periphery. It's a tentative step towards trust, though the dog doesn't realize it yet. The soldiers notice. They talk about the war dog and they think it's not listening. You know, for a creature bred to fight, it sure has a lot of personality, one says, glancing over at the dog. Another nods, adding, it's got that same look we all had when we first hit the battlefield, like it's trying to figure out if anything is worth trusting anymore. They see pieces of themselves in the war dog, lost, abandoned by the galaxy, forced to fight battles that weren't their own. The dog may have been bred for war, but its fear, its loyalty, its desire to survive, they're all too familiar. It's a creature caught in a conflict it didn't choose, just like them. Slowly, the war dog starts to realize the humans don't see it as an enemy. They see it as something more. Each day, the war dog lets them a little closer, accepting their care, even allowing the medic to touch its wounds without protest. It still doesn't trust them fully, but something in the way they act, their patience, their lack of cruelty, makes it want to believe they might be different. It's a fragile bond, but it's growing, slowly, steadily, in the quiet moments between battles. The news of the impending attack hits the camp like a storm. The once relaxed faces of the soldiers harden as the realization sinks in, another fight is coming, and it's not going to be easy. There's no time to waste. Gear is checked, weapons are loaded, and strategies are quickly discussed among the squad leaders. The air is thick with tension, every breath laced with anticipation of what's to come. The war dog, still not fully recovered, watches the humans prepare, sensing the shift in their energy. Its muscles tense as it begins to pick up on the unmistakable scent of fear and determination in the air. Despite its lingering injuries, the war dog moves closer to the humans, its instincts pulling it toward the group. The unease in the camp is palpable, and even though the dog is still learning to trust these strange creatures, it understands one thing clearly: danger is coming. The humans are preparing to fight, and something deep within the war dog tells it that it will need to fight too. There's no command forcing it this time, no barked orders or electric shocks. Just a quiet understanding that it has to protect the ones who saved it. The attack comes swiftly. The sky darkens as alien ships swoop down, casting shadows over the camp. Explosions tear through the perimeter, and the ground shakes with the force of the first wave. Laser fire cuts through the air, creating a cacophony of noise that drowns out everything else. The humans spring into action, their training kicking in as they take defensive positions. Chaos erupts as the alien forces descend, their soldiers flooding the battlefield, weapons blazing. At first, the war dog hesitates. The violence is overwhelming, the sights and sounds a brutal reminder of its past battles. Its body stiffens, old wounds and scars burning in the heat of the moment. But then, amidst the chaos, it sees one of the humans, one of the soldiers who had tended to its wounds, pinned down, struggling against the onslaught. Something clicks. The war dog's hesitation vanishes in an instant, replaced by a surge of instinct and adrenaline. Without thinking, it charges into the fray. Its combat training takes over. The war dog moves like a machine, swift and deadly, its augmented body making it a lethal force on the battlefield. Teeth bared, it lunges at the alien soldiers, tearing through armor and flesh with terrifying efficiency. The humans watch in awe as the creature that once snarled at them now fights at their side, a fierce protector rather than a tool of war. It's as though the war dog has found a new purpose, one driven not by orders but by something more profound, a bond, a need to defend those who had shown it kindness. One of the soldiers, caught off guard by an enemy ambush, is saved when the war dog barrels into the alien attacker, knocking it to the ground. The soldier, breathing heavily, nods in silent thanks, and for the first time, the war dog seems to understand. This isn't just about survival anymore. It's about something deeper, something it had never known before, loyalty. It feels the connection growing stronger with every strike, every shared moment of battle. The war dog fights with renewed strength, its injuries forgotten in the heat of combat. It takes down alien soldiers with brutal precision, even using its augmented limbs to shield one of the humans from a blast that would have surely ended his life. The humans, initially unsure of how the war dog would react in battle, quickly realize they have gained an unexpected ally. Side by side, human and war dog fight as one, their actions in sync, their fates intertwined in the desperate struggle. The battle rages on, pushing everyone to their limits. Explosions light up the night, casting eerie shadows over the battlefield as the humans and their war dog companion fight with everything they have. The alien forces are relentless, but the humans, bolstered by the war dog's fierce loyalty and combat prowess, refuse to back down. It's a brutal, grueling fight, but the war dog never falters. Its body may be scarred and broken, but its spirit is unyielding, driven by the connection it now shares with these humans. For the first time in its life, the war dog isn't just fighting because it was bred to. It's fighting because it wants to, because it has something worth fighting for. And as the battle reaches its climax, with both sides locked in a desperate struggle for survival, the war dog stands side by side with the humans, ready to face whatever comes next. Together, they are more than the sum of their parts, a unit bound not by orders, but by trust, loyalty, and an unshakable will to survive. The dust settles over the scarred battlefield as the last echoes of gunfire fade into the night. The battle has been won, but the victory is somber, marked by the heavy cost paid in blood and tears. The survivors move among the debris, their steps heavy as they gather their wounded and salvage what they can from the ruin. Among them, the war dog stands resolute, its body marred with new wounds atop the old, its breath heavy with exertion. Yet, there's a new light in its eyes, a look of belonging. No longer an outsider, the war dog watches the humans, understanding that it has fought not just alongside them, but as one of them. As the soldiers work to mend their ranks and care for the injured, a few pause to glance at the war dog, their expressions a mix of awe and gratitude. They've seen many battles, witnessed countless acts of bravery, but the transformation of the war dog from a weapon of war to a comrade in arms is something entirely new. They gather in small groups, their voices low, sharing stories of how the war dog saved their lives, how it fought with a ferocity driven not by programming, but by a genuine bond. The thing about it, one soldier remarks, wiping the grime from his face, is that it didn't have to fight for us. But it chose to. That says something about what we're fighting for, doesn't it? The others nod, the truth of his words sinking in. The discussion turns to the future, to what comes next. They are unanimous in their decision, the war dog is one of them now, if it chooses to stay. There's no debate, no second guessing. It's clear that the war dog has earned its place among them. As the group leader tends to a makeshift command table, the war dog approaches, its steps deliberate. The soldiers watch as it comes to a stop beside him, sitting with a tired but resolute posture. The leader looks down, meeting the war dog's gaze, and in that quiet moment, a mutual understanding passes between them. The war dog has made its choice. It has found its pack, its family. With a gentle hand, the leader strokes the dog's scarred head, sealing the unspoken pact between them. In the final scene, the camera pulls back as the group begins to move out. The war dog walks at the leader's side, its stride confident, its place assured. The humans and their war dog, once an unlikely alliance, now stride forward together, a symbol of the resilience and unity found even in the darkest of times. As they march under the vast, starlit sky, their silhouettes are a testament to the unexpected friendships that can arise from the chaos of war. The camera pans out further, the figures becoming smaller as the landscape widens, showing the war-torn world around them. But there's a sense of hope now, a belief that no matter what lies ahead, they are ready to face it together. The war dog, once left to die on a battlefield by those who saw it as nothing more than a tool, has found a new purpose, a new life among those who showed it kindness and acceptance. The message is clear: humanity's capacity for compassion can change even the most hardened hearts, a powerful testament to the idea that in the vastness of the galaxy, connections matter, kindness matters, and every soul, no matter how broken, can find a place to belong.